Hey there, welcome to the Bronx Buzz, the newly formatted Bronx Buzz. You can see we changed the background and we're going to be a little less formal. The whole idea is to create a conversational program. And our first guest, who could be more conversational? Superstar. I'm trying to come up with adjectives. I've run out of them. We'll start with superstar. My good buddy, Rhina Valentine. Nice to see you, Rhina.
Hi, Gary. Nice to be on this episode. This is the first episode in this format, you're
In the
saying?
new format where we're just going to kind of be rapping and not moving from one segment to the other. I was trying to figure out what, aside from superstar, what description. So you're the host of Open. Do we want
Yes.
to list all the other 1,500 things that you do, or just leave it at the host of Friday Open? See, she can't stop laughing.
Well, I identify as being a multi-hyphenate.
A multi-high,
A multi-hyphenate Renaissance woman.
oh, hyphenate,
A
hyphenate.
multi-hyphenate Renaissance woman.
All right. Can I just make a note about that? The multi. Well, so we're going to go all the way back, and we're going to start. Where did Rhina grow up? Let's start there. Then I have many follow-ups, but let's just start. So where did you grow up? And these are things even I don't know. We've known each other for way too many years. But tell me where you grew up.
I know because most people assume that I'm born and raised in the Bronx, but actually, I was born and raised in El Barrio. And so I'm originally from East Harlem, but I resided in the Bronx when I was discovered to serve on BronxNet. So I,
We
I
can talk
identify
about that as well.
I
Yeah.
identify as being by borough, Gary.
All right, that's fair. Rena, I have told you this 40 million times. You're much more mature than I am. There's no question about it. So you grew up, and had you had the notion of like one day I'll be on TV, or like what were you like as a youngster?
Well, I did want to be on
You
TV,
did.
but yeah, I
Wow.
didn't know I would be on TV in this capacity. I've always been an artist, and I'm an artist, and since I was young, I've always performed in theater. In grammar school, I was in theater in the theater
Wow.
club. Believe it or not, I went to Catholic school.
She's laughing because some of those values she might not be embodying right now. Okay, that's okay. We accept it.
Well, yeah, I at this point of my life, I identify as a metaphysics spiritualist. So, and it's taken a lot to get me to this place of just embracing everything and everyone. So I giggle because my origins are that from being a Catholic schoolgirl.
Wow. And so did you do like school plays and all that kind of, you were the girl in the front? Did you sing? Were you a singer?
Well, I did, but I sang as part of the chorus. I've never
Wow.
singing has never been my strong suit. And I remember like my first musical ever was in high school, and it was Jesus Christ Superstar.
Speaking of Catholic school, that's pretty funny. And you played the lead as the
No, I wish I
superstar.
could say no. I wasn't Jesus. I was.
So you remember that as your first moment. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, but that wasn't grammar school. That was high school. I went to a Catholic high school as well, and we actually did that production with our brother high school, which was Cardinal Hayes, and we performed it at Cardinal Hayes High School.
And Cardinal Hayes, do you have fond memories of that, or it's just so far away you can't get next to it?
Well, it's one of the many things I did in with regards to theater, right? I always thought I was going to be a dancer first because that was my strong suit. I used to perform and choreograph, and I was always in every single talent show. And but I also participated in the theater club, so I just love the arts as I still do. But I thought that I was going to be a professional modern jazz dancer. And
Wow.
I did try out for the Performing Arts High School and didn't make it. So I ended up
The
going to
hell's
Catholic
wrong
High
with
School.
them? So I'm going to tell a story that I've told it many times, but never on air. The first time I had a microphone at my public school, PS 95, they had a dance festival when I was in sixth grade, and they needed somebody to announce each class and announce the dances. So for reasons I have no idea why, they said, you could probably do it. And that was sixth grade. And I remember, and it was the old Caliphone microphones with a loudspeaker, and all the parents were there. And I held the microphone and I said, and now Miss Jones's class will be dancing the hora or whatever dance they were dancing. And I remember to this day that I said to myself, why am I not nervous? And to this day, I can still see what it looked like. And that was the first time I had a microphone. Although I listen, we're not talking about me, but I had always wanted to be into music and a radio DJ, and that's how I started, etc. So, so let's see. So then you went to college?
I did, but I didn't finish, and I ended up going to a conservatory.
A conservatory? What is that?
So
what does that mean?
So I went to a lot of schools, right? So I went to Manhattan Community College, and I did not complete. So I don't have a bachelor's in anything. And I transferred to a trade school, and I studied travel. And I traveled for a while and worked for a corporate travel agency. And then I actually went to a conservatory and got my master's in a specific acting technique, which is called
Wow.
Meisner. Yeah.
Meisner. I'm going to ask you about that in a second. So you actually skipped, a traditional undergraduate school and got your master's.
No, I'm sorry. I should use the
Oh,
proper language. It's a master's program. It was
a
a
master's
master's
program.
program.
Okay.
Yeah, but I committed 3 years, so it might as well be a master's.
I don't want to talk down the credentials and all that, but you are then an example of somebody who just should have a master's in hosting TV shows and all the things you're committed to. So who wants to say, either you or me, how you found BronxNet and how you got involved in BronxNet? And our producer Anderson is hearing this, and he's going to fall off his chair.
So, the truth of the matter is like I like to consider my path non-traditional because
Is it ever?
as far as I'm concerned, I should have a master's. I should have a PhD at this
Of
point.
course.
But yeah, I've always been an experiential learner, and I think that's why the life has taken me in all these different directions, and so do you want to divulge the?
You want me to say?
Yeah, you can say
Okay,
it.
I'll say it. So I had a TV show before. Well, no, it wasn't before. So we had Bronx Talk, which is still in the evenings, but I created a morning show called Bronx Talk AM, and so we did it every morning for 2 hours, which we're getting through a half hour today. I don't know how, but I used to do 2 hours a day, and then they'd replay it at night, 2 hours at night. And at one point I said, maybe we ought to have a co-host. And I don't know how or when I landed on you. And I think you came in for a segment of some kind. We used to be in this little room.
I think I was there representing BAD because again, I was doing a lot of dance and I was working with Arthur
the BAD
Aviles.
Theater. That's BAAD. Go ahead, Bronx Academy for Arts and Dance. Go ahead. And so you came in to talk about
with Arthur Aviles, and I think I came in representing a production that I was doing with him called Super Maeva de Oz, I think it was.
I wouldn't know.
Yeah, I know.
I can tell you the tapes are all on VHS in my closet because that's how long ago it was. So, and the fact is, we'll get back in a moment, but Bronx Talk AM ultimately was canceled, and that's how they created Open after that. Anyway, so I said, boy, this woman should be on TV. She could be my co-host. And then I'm sure you remember at the Castle Hill Diner, we had a little diner thing.
That's right.
And I don't know what you had for breakfast, but I'm sure I had scrambled eggs and toast. And we made friends. And I believe that was right at the timing where they canceled Bronx Talk AM.
It was because the conversation between you and I was you were going to give me this segment and like we were going to like create some kind of like regular segment where I would be a visiting co-host.
That's right, exactly. And then they canceled it, and then they said, well, we're doing Open. She was going to be on. let her have it. And so have you been hosting Fridays all the time?
I've been hosting Fridays since its inception. Yeah.
Okay.
Since its pilot episode.
I want to get back to that because there's other things that I want to talk about. I want to talk about this metaphysics thing that you've been talking about. And, we're Facebook friends and Instagram and everything else. And I see everything that you're doing. Talk to me about that whole notion and why that appeals to you as a person instead of maybe more traditional, I don't know, religions or beliefs or styles. Talk about that a little bit. I'm curious about that.
So, for me, being a spiritualist is like it's a lot more open, right? Put 'em bump. Um, Although I know because I originate from Catholic school, right? And then I actually became a Nichiren Daishonin Buddhist, and I have a Gohanzen in my home. And if you don't know what Nichiren Daishonin Buddhism is, we chant Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, and so that is a religion that found me, and I was practicing it. I mean, I still practice it from time to time, but this is the reason why I embrace being a metaphysics spiritualist, because it kind of allows me to just go in the direction of whatever the universe is providing. And it's truly a practice of understanding the dynamics of what I would consider invisible substance, and understanding how we're not really taught as human beings what our true capabilities are, in understanding that there's a clutter that one can create when they do not complete matters, or complete commitments. And what happens is when you don't complete, you clutter up the space for anything new to even create a possibility, we'll say. And
Right.
so this practice is more of an understanding that I have agreements with myself, and those agreements with myself are based on understanding that I have to operate at the highest level of integrity
At a
in order to
larger level.
manifest.
So what this speaks to me is there is a continual search going on that for you. Listen, we're dealing with reality. This TV show is reality, but there is a continual search to find a greatness, a greater good, to have yourself reach that. Is that a decent way to describe where you're at and what you're looking for?
Yeah, so I like
Yeah.
to consider it. It's like it's it's like understanding our primordial existence, right?
Okay.
Coming to entering our bodies, right? And understanding that there's a relation to the oneness of our existence. And the oneness consists of elements. It consists of, trees and air and water. And so in the practice, I'm really embracing everything, and understanding that there's a relation to everything, and honoring that relation, so that there is a clarity in which I'm at least attempting to live by.
And listen, you're going to hate this because I have a really good follow up. We're going to have to take a break, but this to me in our relationship, and we talk about BronxNet and we talk about the Bronx and the world and everything else, and Rhina is much more placid about those things than I am, and I have told her, and now I'm saying it in public, that I need that. I need to have somebody in my life like that, who sees the world like that, because it calms me down. And I appreciate that. Okay, my follow-up question you're going to love, but we're going to take a short break and we'll be right back. The newly reformatted Bronx Buzz with, she gave you all the descriptions, the one and only Rhina Valentine. Don't go away. Okie dokie, back with you on the reformatted Bronx Buzz, but the buzzing is still pretty intense, especially because my buddy Rhina Valentine is here. So here's my follow-up question to what you were talking about before. How do you bridge that whole thing that is in your head or in the universe that you feel connected to the hard reality of the people sitting in front of you every Friday morning with something to present, and you got a script? And believe me, I know what it's like, and they give you all this stuff you're supposed to say. How do you bridge that and still feel comfortable doing all of that very grassroots, hardcore, one-to-one people work?
I appreciate you asking me that, Gary, because I want to
I knew
say
you'd
that
love that.
because you know why? Because it matters to me so much. It really does. It matters to me how people leave feeling, right? Yes, we're there to service them in the capacity of offering this platform to highlight their accomplishments and to promote whatever they have up and coming. However, there's this thing that happened post pandemic, right? In which, and when I refer to post pandemic, is going back into the studio, in where I found that a lot of people wanted to really have like really heartfelt conversations about where they're at and who they are as human beings. And
Wow.
because of that mindfulness practice that really is the root of what we're discussing, it's been really refreshing to share that kind of energy. There's an exchange that happens, and I got to tell you, I don't think there's one guest that doesn't leave feeling um radiant.
Inspired, enlightened,
Radiant, but I was going to use
radiant.
the word
Okay.
radiant because
Okay.
I see the difference in their energy from the time they walk in to the time that they leave. And there's something, it fulfills me to know that I play a role in that.
And you play a large role in that, and in part because you focus on artists and creative people of all kinds, that feeds into that, and then you use, for want of a better term, this universe to help them do their thing. I got to ask you about this because I've seen it on Facebook, and Instagram a million times. You swim, and
I
you have
do.
expressed you. I don't know where that is that you have that kind of thin pool that you go in. If you want to tell, you can. But
Yeah, it's in my
well,
building.
oh, it's in your building. How
Yes.
wonderful. What about the swimming feeds into this whole thing about you? Because you have used that to even communicate to other people. This is like my grounding. This is what I do, and you swim laps and all that.
So I'm a transcendental meditator, right? And
Ah.
so that's one. And then
Wait,
there's
you
just
actually meditate in the pool?
I do. I was going to get to that. Yep.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So a friend of mine recommended that perhaps I start exercising in the pool because I don't know if you recall, but I ran the New York City Marathon back in 2014,
Oh, I
pre-pandemic.
don't remember that. Okay, good for you.
Yeah, and I completed. And so, but I also developed a toe injury that affected my continuing of
Being a
jogging and
runner.
or walking for that matter. I couldn't
Oh,
even
I
do
didn't know
speed
that.
walking, right? And so uh the doctor gave me the choice to either have the surgery or just live with it. And so I chose to just live with it because I figured, well, I already, knocked it off the bucket list. I don't think I'm going to run another marathon. And so I was looking for something cardiovascular. And so I have a pool, which was closed during the pandemic. And so I found this new relationship with the pool that was truly immersive, right? I
Literally
play
and figuratively.
Yes, because I would play Zen music, or I continue to play Zen music. So I go and I come with my little boombox and I play my meditation music, and when I swim almost as if though I'm in a trance. I swim
Wow.
and I connect to the water. And so there's this meditation that happens. It's automatic. It's a
Wow.
relation that I have with the water, and I honor it. And as an element, but an element of cleansing, an element of refreshment, right? An element of rebirth, an element. I mean, we come from water. We're made of water, and
Wow.
so
And,
I almost feel like I go back home every time I
wow.
jump into the
Do
pool or
you
swim.
like religiously swim? I don't mean to use that word, but regularly swim every day, every couple of days, or whenever you have a chance.
So no, we have to make reservations, and I
Oh, I
swim
see.
4 days during the week because I can't swim on Friday mornings, and I swim every morning either at 8 or 8:45 for 45 minutes, and the weekends it's a hit or miss. Sometimes I'll implement
Wow.
the Saturday or Sunday. So I swim anywhere from 4 to 5 days a week, 45 minutes, and it's the thing I look forward to the most, and it's the way I start my
Amazing.
day every day.
Amazing. So let's go through a couple of things. You sent me a message about a word, mompreneurs. What,
Yes.
what is I mean, I could guess, but why don't you? And you said it's something very that you're hosting and a production consultant and all that stuff. But you're honoring mompreneurs. What is that?
So I am part of this initiative called NYC Celebrates Women, and actually they honored me last year, and I've been hosting their 25 women of color entrepreneurs making bolds step by step in every year for the past, I don't know, 4 years or something like that. And this year's theme is mompreneurs, and I myself identify as a mompreneur
Meaning,
because
meaning a mother who's an entrepreneur.
correct.
Okay. And what
Correct.
what what distinguishes these people from just saying moms or entrepreneurs? What's the issue in there?
Well, I want to say mompreneurs wear extra hats because there's a certain level of balancing that is required to work around your responsibilities of being a mom, because that within itself is like being an entrepreneur. I mean, it's my first job, man. My first
Yes.
job is being a mom.
Yes.
Yeah. And so it takes something to run a business and tend to your children, and make sure that you're operating with the intent of balancing. And some people go to work and leave their children in the care of someone or what have you, and that's understandable. But when it's time for the kids to either come back from school or come
Yeah.
back, or you come back from work, there's that relationship that is there. And when you're running a business, you're not necessarily operating from 9 to 5.
Right. Well, you might be operating 24/7, which is that's the issue. And so ultimately it's a way of understanding a certain kind of person and helping them figure out what to do as a mom and also make sure that business runs well, which of course is vital, especially if you're a single mom, because you really need to bring home the bacon.
Yeah, because also there's this guilt that happens with being a mom, and I'm going to speak for myself. It's almost as if though it's never enough, or I'm not doing enough, or there's this fear that can sometimes creep up in wondering, like, am I doing it right? Because there's no handbook. And so I think it's lovely that we've chosen to honor the women who are in that playing field. And coming from a person like myself who's familiar with it, it's a matter of supporting each other and empowering each other and offering each other tools that will help us keep going.
You have so many projects because you can't stop. I know that. We all know that about you. I really was struck when, because I didn't know about it, but Latina Luminaires, Luminaris, I'm going to mispronounce it. Tell us all about this. And now it's already passed. You can see the dates, but tell about what this is, what this was, etc.
Yeah, so Latine Luminaries is a partnership that I had with Lincoln Center. They presented us at the David Rubenstein Atrium at Lincoln Center. This was 3 years in the making. They were gracious enough to allow us to capture it, and it's taken us 3 years to actually edit it and air it. So now it's kind of been repurposed, and now we're sharing it with a broader audience. Although we had a great crowd when we presented the
This
in-person
is
event.
La Reina del Barrio Incorporated, and
Correct.
I want to say all the crazy things you do. Wait. So I got another one here. The 6th annual Step by Step Women of Color Entrepreneurs Conference that is coming up when, in May sometime?
Yeah, that's May 10th. That's the one we were just discussing regarding
Right. About
mompreneurs.
the entrepreneurs, and the other thing, the Hair Education Beauty Summit.
Oh my
Uh,
gosh, that's a
the,
big one, Gary.
well,
That's a
here we are.
really
That we're
big
going to
one.
conclude. We only got about a minute and a half, so conclude for us.
Okay, so that one is a panel discussion, and it's the Hair Education Beauty Summit, and that's taking place in Jersey and at the Meadowlands Expo Center. And I am the moderator, and I have amazing panelists such as Amara La Negra, and we got Julissa B and Gemi Quellis and Francella Ulysses, and we're going to be discussing curls, coils, and kinks as Afro Latinas. So it's an
Oh, well,
Afro Latina experience.
maybe you ought to think about curling your hair then. That would be
I wonder
listen,
why they chose me.
okay, we last question. We got about a minute, and you know what that means in our business. What do you want people to know about Rhina Valentine, the Cafe con Leche? And that's me today. What do you want people to know about when they turn on Friday mornings and see you on Open? What do you want them to know about you?
Well, I want to say, to sum up everything that we've discussed, is that aside from advocating arts, culture, women empowerment, youth development, and
The
mental
list is
health
long.
awareness, huh?
I said the list is quite long. Go ahead.
that we continue to sustain and hold space for our up and coming artists and even entrepreneurs, and by the same token, we also revisit with these individuals who go on to win awards, Emmys, and Grammys, and it's been quite fulfilling on my part to know that we have been able to sustain we're going on 19 years now in May of 2025.
Congratulations to all of us. Rhina, next time I see you, I'm going to give you a big hug and say thank you for joining us on the first ever reformatted Bronx Buzz, the great Rhina Valentine, Cafe con Leche. And we'll see you on TV, or I'll see you around the studio, or I'll see you at an event. I'm not a mompreneur, but, we're all working on the same thing. I really appreciated what you said about the demarcation line between before COVID and after COVID, because that's a valid thing. That's it. The Bronx Buzz reformatted, and you're going to see more. We got more to do. If the curtain don't fall and the creek don't rise, I will be here next week. Good night.